Poker's legendary champions, next generation stars, and tireless ambassadors of the game, sharing their wisdom and guiding your journey to high achievement on the green felt. This is Tactical Tuesday on Chasing Poker Greatness with your hosts, Brad Wilson and Jon Chai.
Welcome, my friend, to another episode of the Chasing Poker Greatness podcast. As always, this is your host, the founder of ChasingPokerGreatness.com, Coach Brad Wilson. And today is Tuesday, which means it is a tactical day, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jon Chai. Jon, what up, sir?
How are you doing, Brad?
Doing quite well. I cannot complain. Just pumped to be here
for another four-hand special.
Another four-hand special. It's a beautiful day, and four-hand special. How long, how many episodes in a row can we do four hands before it stops becoming special? And then what happens when we revert back to two? Is it an unspecial Tactical Tuesday?
No, two will become special once we've collect the two episodes for, the two-hand episodes for a couple months. And then people will be like, wow, you guys went so in-depth into these two hands. That was great. You guys should do that more often.
I see. Got to keep the audience guessing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's always have the audience guessing and have no idea what to expect from episode to episode. That's how you keep them interested. Do we have a theme for?
We do have a theme. Facing a donk bet.
All right. Facing a donk bet. This is, I don't know if we've done this theme before.
I don't think we have, but
yeah, I don't think we have either. I think have a course called Neutralize Flop Leads, and also comes with Neutralize Turn Leads and Neutralize River Leads, and basically deals with facing donk bets when the fish is doing the donk betting. So yeah, I guess trying not to give away all of our proprietary information by having the donk bets on Tactical Tuesday. But today is the day.
A lot of these are actually regs, shockingly, which is why I need so much help, because I know what I'm doing versus the fish because of the NUFFLE, NURRLE, and NUTTLE courses that you can get on CPG.com. But
yeah,
there aren't reg versions of those courses yet.
Yeah, regs are trickier. Less data. Regs don't donk as much. Regs just don't donk as much in general. So let's look at these four hands. Well, two hands pre-break, two hands post-break. Hand number one looks like you open the button. Everybody folds to you. You open the button with the ace of diamonds, king of clubs, so ace, king offsuit. And the small blind calls, and the small blind has a broken stack. And so I guess now is the question, are you sure that these are against regs?
Not all of them are against regs.
This one doesn't seem to be very reggy.
This one was just a warm-up. This one's like a gimme.
Yeah, all right. Just greasing us up. So 6-8-9, two-tone, 6-9 of hearts is the flop, and the 8 of spades. You do not have a heart or a spade, and our opponent donks $40 into 70. So decision point numero uno.
Actually, this hand was in a P&E that I recorded, I think a week ago or 10 days ago or something like that. And I think you can, what my exact words on the flop and the turn actually are just well, I have two overs. I'm just going to call and see what happens. Maybe I have the best hand sometimes. There are, plenty of draws that ace king high is going to be ahead of on 9-8-6 two-tone. Also, we could just, win sometimes when they check the turn or the river or something like that. So my plan here was just to peel and see what happens on the turn and river.
Yeah, you have one of these kind of piecemeal equity quilts where you have equity in a bunch of different ways, but you don't really know how much equity you have.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of guessing. Ace king high can just have equity, it could just be the best hand, right? And then if you hit an ace or a king, that's going to give you some equity on specific runouts. If villain checks, you've got some fold equity there if you want to stab.
Yeah.
If they bet the flop in the turn and then check the river, sometimes you can check back, sometimes you can bet. So basically you have a lot of different avenues or paths to victory It's just a matter of kind of, putting all those pieces of the quilt together, which requires some guesswork because I think this is,
I think you brought up a good, like one really good point that I sort of neglected, that there are like downstream bluffing opportunities with ace king. I think there are some, at least to me, like situations that feel clear when, let's say, the small blind, the fish donks the flop, the turn is like a brick. Let's say it's like a deuce. They donk the turn again, and then the river's like completes one of the massive draws on the flop, like a 10 or a 5 or a heart or a 7 or something like that, and then they check. I think that's like a very commonly occurring situation where I am planning on bluff catching with a hand like ace king or a hand like pocket threes or something like that, and then the river just completes 100 draws, and then they check, and it starts feeling like, okay, maybe now I need to start trying to fold out top pair or mid pair or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, even a turn jack or queen, right? Like
Right.
Turn jack or queen is also like they bet small on the turn, then they check the river. Like it's going to be quite unlikely that ace king high is the best hand at this point, and you'll need to bluff. So, yeah, again, there's just a lot of different future scenarios, but I wouldn't fold ace king high on the flop. I'm pretty confident that you can turn a profit by continuing in some fashion. So you do continue in the normal fashion. Turn is a 4 of clubs. So flop was 6, 8, 9 with the 6, 9 of hearts. Turns a 4 of clubs, which is an effective blank. You still have ace king high, and our villain bets half pot. And here we are on the turn in a similar situation to the flop where nothing really changed, but I don't think our plan has really changed either.
Yep. I mean, I said it before. I pretty much said the same thing on the flop and the turn. I have 2 overs, maybe the best hand sometimes. If I don't have the best hand, sometimes I can make the best hand on the river. Sometimes win versus check. But he doesn't check.
Yeah, so the river's a 5, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and villain bets 2/3. So 4-liner, the John special, your favorite. I don't really imagine you can do anything but fold now.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure my first thought was to fold here again in the P&E. I rewatched this hand, and I like the first thing I do is like move my mouse over the fold button as soon as this 220 comes out on the river and the 4-liner gets there. I think there's just tons of hands that are really normal for fish to donk, just like all the 6-7s, 7-8s, 9-7s, maybe even just naked 7x. That now gets there. But then I start, the optimistic John comes out. There's queen 10, there's jack 10, there's hearts.
King 10?
Yeah,
why
king
not?
10.
Ace
Yeah.
10? Why not?
yeah, all the 10x actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can find the optimist in me as well.
Yeah.
I think you also have like, kind of a bajillion combos of 7x yourself that on the river here.
Wait.
Any pair.
How is that optimistic?
In your range. I mean, it's not up. This is the reality. You have like just hands that can call, and I don't know that you need to call with ace king high, but I would just fold the river personally on the 4-liner, but they are going to have queen 10, jack 10, ace 10, king 10 sometimes.
Okay, here's another question. Would you rather face check on the 4-liner than bet then? Like, yeah, I'll just start
If
with
I
that.
face check, then I would bet for
Bluff.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I would rather face check. Yes. If I'm going to fold facing a bet, then I would rather face check so that I could bluff.
Yeah. Okay. I just don't know how much of this is like also a spot where, we wouldn't expect them to thin value bet anything on the river. I guess that's not a straight. And so that, there's sometimes when you're playing versus fish and you're happier to see a bet with a bluff catcher than you are to see check. If this could be one of them.
They could turn a pair into a bluff here.
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of easily.
They could have just been betting like a 5 or just like some random 5 on the flop. And
Who knows? Ace 6, king 6.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, anyways, the optimist in me prevails on the river. Thank God.
Yep. The optimist prevails, and the optimist finds the queen 10. Well done, optimist John. I don't know how the rest of your life is going to go, but this one hand went very well for you, sir. Let's see hand number 2. And we're working in a video replayer, so have to wait for it to catch up. Hand number 2 looks like you have 9s. You want to break down the action?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the cutoff is some sort of reg in this hand. Definitely not a fish. He opens to $20. I have pocket 9s on the button. Villains in the cutoff. I 3-bet, I assume, to 70. Yep. Cutoff calls. So we go heads up to 4-3 deuce, two-tone. For what it's worth, there are 2 hearts on the flop. I have the 9 of hearts and the 9 of spades. 155 in the middle. We're pretty deep, about 130 big blinds effective. I start out with a half pot c-bet. This is going to be this, or maybe a little bit bigger is going to be the size that I c-bet on these boards.
Hold on. So we said flop donks was the theme.
Not flop donks, just donks.
Oh, just donks.
Not all of these
okay.
Yeah.
Not the flop. All right. So I was really confused here. I was like, they're against flop donks on the flop versus regs. Hand number 1's against a fish, and hand number 2.
We have to sell NUTTLE, NURRLE, and NUFFLE. We can't do that if we only look at flop donks.
I see. Versus regs and 3-bet pots, so they don't even apply. But please buy it. Okay, so turn is a tray.
I
so
have pot get called. Yeah.
Yeah. You bet half pot. They call. Flop was deuce tray 4 with the tray 4 of hearts. Turn is a tray of clubs. So now the board is deuce tray 4 tray with the deuce tray of clubs, tray 4 of hearts. Villain donks 50. John has an overpair, pocket 9s. Villain bets 50 into 300. And I can see your action because the video is very fast. But I guess tell me about this decision right here.
I was taken aback by the turn donk. Didn't expect it. I don't know if this is like supposed to be a thing or not. It seems a little bit wild on a 3, which is sort of, it doesn't really change the texture of the board at all. The flop was 4-3 deuce, turn 3. I don't think the cutoff has very many, if any, 3s that call a 3-bet out of position. Maybe a hand like ace-3 suited does that. Maybe pocket 3s, I guess. That's one combo of 3x that he has. But I was surprised to see this donk on this card and wasn't really sure what to make of it.
Yeah, it looks like you decided to raise, which is, I guess, ultimately what you made of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just gonna raise. I think I'm actually not sure. This is kind of a strange outlier scenario. This like 1/6 turn donk here on the tray. Villain doesn't have a lot of trays, like you said. Doesn't really change the equity distribution a ton. It does feel like it could be some kind of small overpair. It could be some kind of flush draw with overcards, just like blocking the turn effectively.
Yeah.
That is like the most natural hand. It could also be, like ace-5 or some kind of slow played big hand on the flop that just didn't want to raise for whatever reason, and then it's like trying out some wacky alternative path to getting the money in, like tiny on the turn and then like overbet jam river or some kind of line.
Yeah, I was leaning towards what this guy was doing. I was leaning towards the first sort of scenario you described, where I thought it was probably just like a lot of small overpairs and maybe like turned flush draws and stuff like that, trying to set a really good price for themselves on the turn and somewhat freeze the action. So that's why I raised the turn. I thought that, I could raise here and probably just check back a lot of rivers, most rivers, all rivers that aren't a 9 or a 3 or something like that. And
yeah, it's not going to be a lot of clean rivers for you.
Yeah.
A tray, a deuce, a 4, probably the ones, and then 7, 8 that are not clubs or hearts.
Yeah.
Not too many.
So anyways, that's sort of what I thought was going on. That's why I decided to raise.
Yeah. It makes sense, and I don't really want to go down the rabbit hole of like what happens if villain bet 3 bets. You do have some depth here. That would be another interesting node that rarely gets to the turn bet jam Yeah. Again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Because
If he bet jam the turn, this would be a 2-hand Tactical Tuesday. We'll put it that way.
Gotcha. River's an ace of clubs, so completes a 4-liner and the backdoor flush draw, and I just have to believe you're getting donked on the river here.
It doesn't. I thought it was going to happen again for sure. On this
It
river.
should happen, I think. I think this river card is just...
Well, we just don't know what the cutoff's range or strategy is, so...
We don't, but I mean, this just feels like their card, right?
Like a guy who's
backdoor
going to
flush
donk like a
completes and
random
4-liner.
3? Has to donk like the backdoor flush completing 4-liner overcard, right?
You would think. Pocket 5s or something like that, right? Like, just... All right. Goes check, and you lose to ace queen. Off. Okay.
Any thoughts on how this was played from cutoff? This was not one of the hands that I was expecting to see on the river.
It's weird.
Yeah.
My first thought is that it's kind of odd. Generally a 4-bet pre, but... Maybe it's actually not bad.
Yeah, I'm always torn.
They don't have a heart. They don't have a heart or a clubs. That's
Right.
probably good. Like, they're, as you said, kind of freezing the action by betting small in the turn, like a blocker size. I don't know. I don't think it's the worst. Like, I'm actually kind of
That's what I think too.
on board. Like, this looks like a pretty cool little find by the villain.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I got over my tilt from getting rivered, I was like, that's actually kind of cool. No club, no heart. Like, if
it's
people
clever.
don't raise the turn very often, then that's great. You sort of ran into, I think, one of the worst case situations for when he donks the turn. But
Yeah,
I
I mean,
thought this
even in a worst case situation, right? You still got 20% equity.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You still have like close to enough equity to just call the turn outright versus
Right.
nines. I mean, so not so bad. I'm actually, I'm impressed. Clever little villain. Let's stick around for the next 2 hands. See if villains are as clever as this one. See you in a sec.
Are you a lone wolf searching for the ultimate pack? The CPG Wolf program is a close-knit brotherhood hell-bent on one thing only: chasing poker greatness. Powered by bleeding-edge wolf strats and led by Coach Brad and his lieutenants, CPG Wolves are systematically prepared for almost any spot they'll encounter on the green felt. If you want to plug into an elite team and have a step-by-step game plan to realize your full poker potential, you can apply at cpgwolves.com. Space is limited, and the pack is only as strong as its weakest member. So only the hungriest, grittiest, and most driven will be accepted into the program. Applications are open at cpgwolves.com.
All right. Welcome back to today's Donkalicious Tactical Tuesday. We got 2 hands coming at you. John, let's dive right into the action. Hands 3 and 4.
This one's a fish, so it'll apply to neutralize flop leads.
So when you said most of them are against regs, you meant it
Half.
can't be most. I know that most is off the table.
Fish opens to 20 under the gun. I have kings, easy 3-bet. Fish calls. Flop is 10-4 deuce, 2-tone. Fish checks. I start out with a small c-bet. I think I could have gone bigger, but
Yeah, I think I like half better
yeah.
than small, but
Neither here nor there for this episode.
yeah.
Oh, face half pot donk on the flush completing, gut shot completing, 5 of spades turn.
Mm-hmm. Deuce 4-5 was a flop, or deuce 10 deuce 4 was the flop, and the turn's a 5, the flush completer. John has no spade, so just an overpair. Villain bets 125 into 254.
Okay, so I thought there were a couple ways to go here. Clearly,
Mhm.
from from the next thing that I do.
Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see his next action. You're still in limbo in the podcast world.
I think flatting here, bluff catching with kings, planning on calling, almost every river for reasonable sizes. I think is very normal. Maybe the most standard thing to do. I thought that I could get more value here from some hands that donk the turn, maybe like a 10 with a spade, maybe like ace of spades, queen of hearts, some hand like that just like turns a bunch of equity and for whatever reason fish just decides to donk with their hand like that. I was planning on raising here and folding to a jam if they did jam, which is why I picked a really, really small raise size. He bets to 125.33. I make it as small as you can possibly make it and raise to 250.66. Yeah, so I guess what do you think about my analysis of the spot and then my
I think it's great.
Eventual decision to raise?
I think it's really, really good, right? Like I think that you protect yourself by clicking it. You're not going to face a giant river bet. The villain will give like lots of information, I think, as to the strength of their hand on the turn. So they're going to bet 3-bet a lot of their better hands, most of their flushes, I would imagine. They can still call with better hands like 4-5 or something like that. But even still, I think it's just going to be good. And, on a variety of different rivers, you can opt to value bet or you can check back. I think there's going to be a lot of rivers too that like maybe a bet doesn't go in when a bet otherwise could have went in here on the turn, like a 6 river, 3 river, things like that. An ace river, obviously, 4 spades, probably going to go check, no reason to bet. So yeah, I'm really a big fan on the multi-purpose use of this raise on the turn. You're getting value from worse hands. You're shielded against villains bet 3 bets because you just fold. Yeah, it's great.
Glad you agree. Fortunately, the hand's not over yet. He doesn't jam, but still, the hand's not over.
Sure.
He calls it 250.66. 3 of hearts on the river, completing a 4-liner. The board is now 10-4 deuce 5-3. There's a 2-3-4-5 4-liner on board.
What's going to happen? And you get the half pot river donk after the turn donk. Classic. This is classic. The double donk. It's just a classic maneuver by the fish on the 4-liner.
Is there a course somewhere where I can learn about how to
the double
combat
donk?
this? Yeah.
I don't think so.
The
not to my knowledge.
Not out yet.
The double donk is not out yet, but it's a fascinating line. I feel like I'm just what's his name? Attenborough watching The Wilderness. Fascinating line by this fish in the wild. I don't know what to do. I like on the 4-liner, I probably just called because I can't help myself, but I still am like, it just feels like I'm melted into a puddle of ooze.
It's like, dude, I told you I had a flush on the turn and you're donking the river.
You don't care. Like, bro, if flush beats a straight, don't you know? Ugh. Plus, like, most of my lower equity raises may have like the ace of spades, and you don't care about it at all.
Have you no fear?
Why don't you care? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not exactly sure what to do versus the double donk. You don't have a spade. Who knows if that matters? It probably has no bearing on whether or not you should call the river or not at all. It's probably like the last data point that you would ever look to prioritize in a scenario such as this. But you don't have a spade, so I would call.
That's how I know I'm melting. My brain is melting when I'm thinking about this decision and I land on, well, I don't have a spade, so
honestly, if I had a spade, I'd be like, well, I have a spade, but I still want to call. So the spade is totally irrelevant. Yeah. I mostly just want to call.
I just melted here. I folded, and we won't even get to see what he has because we don't have whole cards yet for this hand.
Well, that's sad. You didn't mention that this last half of the show is a tragedy.
No, I really.
Well, I mean, should we even go on? I feel like it's over.
Oh,
now.
it gets more tragic. I mean, not
Okay.
this hand, but the rest of
Yeah,
the
this-
show. So yeah, I folded.
hand.
I folded the river. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't believe it. I'm calling with ace king high on the other river 4-liner, and here I'm just like kings, whatever.
Kings is different. It's very odd. Like, it's a very odd line. Honestly, I'm perplexed.
Blind versus blind.
Blind versus blind. Everybody folds small blind. You 3-bet versus small blind open with queens to 100. Looks like you're about 120 bigs deep.
So
I assume villain's a reg.
yeah, everything up to this point, the HUD stats, the way this guy had been playing, sizes, everything led me to believe that this guy was a reg. So I 3-bet the normal size pre with queens, blind versus blind, everything's normal. We're 130 bigs effective or 125 bigs effective to start the hand. Flop is 10-9-9 rainbow, and he does this.
Yeah. 200 in the pot. Villain donks half pot. Okay, first of all, I don't know that half pot donk is supposed to be a thing.
Yeah, I'm starting to
could be
revise
wrong.
my read that this guy is a reg, but
Yeah, I could be wrong, but in general, the donks that I have seen are a third on the flop, not the half pot sizing. But again, I haven't specifically looked at blind versus blind 3-bet pot, so at 120 bigs deep. I don't think I have. Do I have a raising range? God, queen seems like a bad one to raise, though.
just blocking queen jack and king queen, and
Yeah, you're blocking their their continues with worse. Blocking queen 10. I don't know that matters so much. I don't know. I mean, you have like a bunch of good hands.
so are you
here,
just
so-
labeling this guy as a fishnet? Like what? How? Like I feel like that's the first thing we need to decide before even getting to the raise call conversation. Like
I mean,
what do we label this guy as once?
they don't really have like a 9x advantage. I mean, like a lot of our like suited 9x is 3-betting pre. So like we have 10s.
Yeah.
I imagine their 10s are 4-betting. And we have aces through jacks.
We have
and they
more
don't
9x
really
than they
have-
do. Yeah, because we have like
Yeah.
ace 9 off, and they don't have
Sure,
ace 9
sure.
off.
Like we have some like random offsuit 9. So like we have more 9 than them, 9x than them. So I don't really know what to make of it, honestly. Like I think raising like wouldn't be the end of the world, and I think like just whenever you have a bunch more equity than them, then I think raising is kind of like just always on the table, because like your raises are just protected by boats and 9x, so like it makes it difficult for them to just like go ham with bet 3-bets. So I mean, maybe raise, get value from 10x and some like pocket pairs or some like lower straight draws.
Yeah, whatever queen jack and 7-8 exists. with
Sure,
us
jack
blocking
8 suited, who knows.
That's actually what I end up doing. I do raise facing the half pot. C-bet,
Nice.
small raise.
Yeah,
We didn't really talk about
2.5x.
sizing when
We
used
didn't.
The other
I
dom.
think it's fine though.
Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't go like super big. Villain calls. You make it 250. Villain calls. There's 7-11. Oh, thank heaven in the pot. Flop was 9-9-10. Turn is a tray of diamonds. Putting up backdoor diamonds. And villain donks again. Wow.
What? These guys they have no
Yes.
respect.
I think you need to calibrate your who is reg, who is fish profiling.
I swear everything up to this point was just clean, fine, no eyebrows raised poker from this guy, and just out of nowhere, the flop donk alone was just like I like fell back in my chair. I was like, really? This guy is gonna donk half pot? Like I thought you're not
I know
who I thought you
exactly.
were.
So here's my hypothesis. He had to go to the bathroom, and he asked his partner, "Yo, can you play for me while I go to the bathroom?" And this is what happened. Like he's in the bathroom right now, taking a poop, and
Someone's just clicking the half pot button over and over again on his computer.
They're yelling at him from across the house. Yeah, you're in the hand. What do I do? So with that said, I I guess
How much does he have behind? You want to click? Maybe we should just.
I can't see.
Oh, he has a lot behind.
They have a bunch, and you've got not a bunch.
Yeah.
I would just jam the turn, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I think you just get value from like their backdoor flush draws. You're always getting stacked by a 9. Yeah, I think I would just jam the turn.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I did not jam. I just called because I'm just, my brain is still on the floor.
Yeah.
King
Understood.
clubs on the river.
I'm gonna go on a limb and say villain bets.
Half pot, you think? Yeah. Half pot.
All pot. All the pot. John has 532 left. There's 14-19 in the pot. The river's a king. The board is 9-9-10-3 king. I don't know, but bro, you just get my money for doing this.
I just look at the thing. I'm like, oh, I'm getting 4-1. I have a pair, and this guy is going crazy with God knows what.
Yeah, God knows what. God knows where, honestly. And they have the Jack 9 off.
Yeah.
So there you go. They have a 9.
Yeah.
So they open and called a 3-bet with Jack 9 off. Donked half pot on the flop. Called a raise. Donked half pot on the turn. And then jammed the river. Seems like a reg to me. Good read.
Probably.
Yeah, good read. All right. Well,
Just the fish playing, 25, 22, 10% 3-bet, for like 50 something hands, and then just decides to peel the Jack 9 off and go complete. Dude, this has to be someone in the bathroom, and then just the random person decides to take over for a hand. And poker's so easy. They just flop trips and that's
set me up with my own account. What are we doing with our lives? Look at this. Just comes back from the bathroom, looks at the size of the pot on the river. He's like, "Jam, what do you have?" I don't know how we got here.
Did you
but
call it 3-bet with Jack 9 offsuit?
Well, they played it well. It was a very profitable poop, and that's how we're going to end today's episode of Tactical Tuesday.
Days
Thank
without
you
incident, back to 0.
For listening, days without incident, back to 0. That's all I got.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Chasing Poker Greatness. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Go to chasingpokergreatness.com to get the newsletter. Join the Greatness Village community, book a coaching session, or dive into the latest data-driven poker courses. Follow the show on Twitter @CPG Podcast.